Hi guys, welcome back to Fundo Online O-Level Biology, and today we're looking at cellular transport, and what we're going to look at today is diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. So let's begin. Diffusion. Diffusion is the net movement of particles from a region of their high concentration to a region of their low concentration down a concentration gradient. And the word concentration here just means the amount of particles or molecules of a substance in a given volume. For example, the amount of sugar in water in grams per cubic centimeters. And an example of diffusion you might be familiar of is when smoke particles are coming out of burnt food in the kitchen. Maybe there is you are burning meat in the pot, and the smoke starts to spread out throughout the room, and it reaches your nostrils where you are, maybe in another room. It's because the smoke particles have diffused from a region of high concentration which is in the pot, and they start to distribute themselves to a region where there's low concentration here and filling up these spaces until the smoke particles become evenly distributed, so they move from a high concentration region to a low concentration region down a concentration gradient. Diffusion follows the kinetic theory of matter, which states that all matter is made up of small particles that are always in constant motion. And an example of diffusion in living organisms is respiration, where oxygen enters the body by diffusion, because in the lungs there will be lower concentration of oxygen than the air. So through the breathing mechanism, the oxygen is taken into the lungs through the nostrils. Oxygen is also taken into the cells for aerobic respiration by diffusion, and carbon dioxide, because there will be higher concentration of carbon dioxide in the cell than in the body. The carbon dioxide leaves the cell by diffusion as a waste product of respiration, and because the carbon dioxide has increased concentration in the lungs than the air compared to that of the body, the carbon dioxide through diffusion and by the breathing mechanism has to leave the body, and thereby it enters into the air. Photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide is needed by plants to make their food. Therefore, because there is high concentration of carbon dioxide in the air than in the leaves, carbon dioxide diffuses into the leaves where there is low concentration. And whilst the process of photosynthesis is taking place, oxygen is produced as a waste product. Therefore, there will be high concentration of oxygen in the leaf than in the air. So oxygen diffuses out of the leaf into the air. Factors affecting rate of diffusion. Surface area. The greater the surface area, the faster the rate of diffusion. This is because this greater, let's say it's a cell, this greater cell has much more potential to have low concentration than this cell which also has low concentration but not as much as compared to the low concentration of this cell. Temperature. An increase in temperature causes an increase in kinetic energy, which is the movement energy that is induced in the particles. Therefore, this speeds up the rate of diffusion. Concentration gradient. The bigger the difference in concentration between two areas, the faster the rate of diffusion. This means that if this area with high concentration is much more much more concentration that is way higher than the concentration of this area, the difference between these areas will cause this low concentration area to crave for more particles to be diffused into its area. Therefore, this speeds up the rate of diffusion. The size of molecules. Small particles diffuse faster than larger particles. For example, smoke particles they can diffuse faster than other particles that are larger than the smoke particles because they've got much more free space where they can move freely. The medium, basically here gases, solids, liquids, and we all know that gases travel faster than any other medium. Osmosis. Osmosis is the net movement of water molecules from a region of high water potential to a region of low water potential through a partially permeable or semi-permeable membrane. And the word water potential here is just a specified term for concentration of water, which means water is traveling from each region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So osmosis also occurs down the concentration gradient. For example, a dilute solution separated from a concentrated solution by a partially permeable membrane. So we've got a dilute solution on the left side here and the concentrated solution on the right side. So this the dilute solution is just that they are more water molecules more than the sugar molecules. And here in the concentrated solution there are more sugar particles than the water molecules. So through osmosis the water is gonna travel from its region of high water potential or high water concentration to its region of low water concentration until the particles become evenly distributed. For the sugar particle, it might not be able to diffuse into its region of low concentration because the particles cannot fit in through the permeable membrane pores. So only the water molecules are gonna be able to fit in, and through osmosis they travel from their region of high to their region of low concentration down the concentration gradient. Osmosis in cells. The water concentration inside the cell can be lower than the water concentration around the cell. We call this kind of a solution a hypotonic solution. Through osmosis, water molecules enter the cell and cause the cell to swell. This can be represented by this diagram. As you can see, when the water molecules enter the cell, it increases in size, that is to swell, and the cell becomes turgid. If the animal cells swell too much though, they might burst because of the pressure that the water inside the cell that is entering inside the cell causes on the walls, on the membrane of the animal cell. In plant cells, the pressure of water exerts a force against the cell wall, which might be termed turgor pressure, the pressure that the water is causing on the cell wall, and this makes the cell rigid. There are the situations where water concentration inside the cell can be higher than that around the cell, and through this we call this a hypertonic solution, in which water molecules will move out of the cell by osmosis into the surrounding solution. This causes the cell to shrink and the cell might become flaccid, or an alternative term, plasmolysis. We say plasmolysis has occurred. Turgid cells make the plant firm, and cells are kept in shape because they make the cell rigid. Flaccid cells cannot support a plant, and the plant wilts. Active transport. Active transport is the movement of molecules or ions through the cell membrane from a region of low concentration to a region of high concentration, and this is against a concentration gradient. And active transport requires energy that it gets from respiration. Active transport is carried out by carrier proteins in the membrane. The carrier proteins bond to the solute and carry them across the membrane, that is against the concentration gradient. For example, if we take a look at this diagram, we see the carrier proteins that are, for example, this carrier protein that is gonna bond with these substances. The substance combines with the carrier protein, and then the carrier protein transfers these molecules, these substances, across the membrane using energy from respiration, and then it releases the substance into the cell. Some instances where active transport occurs is where plants need to absorb mineral salts from the soil, but in the soil the mineral salts are in very dilute solutions, so in favor of diffusion they should move from a region of high concentration, which might be the roots of the plant, to a region of low concentration, which is the soil. But this time the case is different. The rooted cells are still able to transport these molecules using the active transport process, where they would travel from the region of low concentration, which is the soil, to the region of high concentration, which would be the plant. The villi in the small intestines are also able to use active transport to absorb glucose and minerals into the bloodstream. So thank you for watching my video, and hope you subscribe and like and share my videos. See you soon.